The showstopper is always the content and the design. That's always been the case. Doesn't matter if it was an old newspaper ad or a TV commercial. The showstopper is the creative.
I'm just curious, what would you say are like some of the most common pain points that you see specifically in like newer creative agencies, digital marketing agencies, and also curious of your overall philosophy in terms of like outreach and like trying to acquire new external clients?
Sure. All right, so first of all, the first part of that question, the biggest pain point I see and the reason that we started these events is everybody sells. Everybody just tries to sell in every piece of content that they put out. And for us, if you sell, you lose, or you sell more by selling less. Now, again, I'm not trying to tell you to not sell. We all have to sell. We all have to create revenue for our businesses. But what I'm saying is putting out content of value, putting out content that solves problems, engages emotion, tells stories, still does the same thing. Still does the same thing if you're telling your audience about yourself specifically, about your story, about how your business got started, about when it started, what the first office looked like. That is just as important as trying to put out an ad that's trying to sell them on something. It's way more important than it. So that's the biggest pain point. If you see most agencies that start, the first thing a new agency does when they go to a client is they pitch ROI. They say, through social media, I'm going to do 3 posts a week, and I'm going to run a Facebook ad, and within 3 months, you're going to have 2 clients a month. Well, guess what? After 3 months, they either get fired or they produce no results because there's no audience and they've provided no value back. That is by far, without question, the biggest mistake we see other agencies make, and specifically agencies getting started. Second part of your question was?
Well, I want to kind of...
outreach for new clients.
Yeah, I want to continue on that too, because it's interesting, like with ours, it's a lot of the value that we provide is going to come from actual production. So we have like a team of a lot of designers. So a lot of the value that is going to be conveyed isn't necessarily going to come from like the direct ROI that's going to come from that. So
print design, you're building the ads, you're building the content.
Building the websites, logos, all that stuff. So obviously, like, it's going to be... on that end of things, it might be hard to necessarily convey how that's gonna like increase our ROI, as opposed to the actual marketing. But yeah, the second part of the question too was regarding outreach.
Yeah, so I'll touch on your first part again. So as a branding agency, as someone who's building brand content, as you guys do that creative, the key is an aesthetic brand. What stops somebody's attention on a brand? Whenever you're scrolling through Instagram or scrolling through Facebook, what stops you? The showstopper is always the content and the design. That's always been the case. Doesn't matter if it was an old newspaper ad or a TV commercial. The showstopper is the creative. It's what the brand looks like. Then, afterwards, information comes from the content itself as well as the texturing that you use on the content that you're writing. So on Facebook, the content will stop you, the picture will stop you, but then people will get their information from the texturing above. So when you're approaching clients, that's the key that you have to do. You have to focus on the fact that the showstopper is the creative. And if you want people to have higher impact touch points with that brand, you need to have a modern logo. We've all seen those old industrial logos that someone got and made in paint 15 years ago, right? It could still work, but it just doesn't get the job done anymore. Finding a timeless modern logo and branding a company in a way that allows people to stop and look and have this memorable brand that keeps them top of mind, that every time you see that logo or that color or that content, you already know what that brand is. It's super important. Now, outreach. Outreach for a branding agency is tough because we deal with the same issues. Unfortunately, it doesn't matter what type of content we make online, even with these type of inbound events. The goal from events like this are to create value. After that, it's about developing the relationships in person still. So get out to as many events as you can, meet as many people as possible, and then word of mouth starts to take effect.
Okay. How about like in terms of actual like your thoughts? I was more kind of thinking in terms of actual like cold outreach, right? Trying to like cold email clients, cold calling. What's your general thoughts of that sort of thing?
Very tough in this industry. Because it's very tough to cold outreach to somebody. Like, it's almost impossible to cold outreach to a company and tell them they need to change their logo. They're just going to laugh, or they're just going to hang up. So the key that I find with creative and branding is if you create the warm touch points, if you create the ability who they know who you are, when the timing's right and they say, yeah, you know what, I've got 10 people that told me I need a new logo in the last year, maybe I'm falling a little bit behind, then they call you because they remember you. The only difference in that sphere is websites. So there's a lot of websites out there that are outdated, and if you find those websites within your sphere, you can cold call websites. It's the only faction of digital marketing that you can cold call and create some success from. Very hard any other way.
Okay. And that relates to cold email as well?
Cold email, cold call, yeah. And then the last is obviously when we get into search engine optimization later. Yeah. If someone's searching because the timing's right, then you want to be one of those top brands on that search.
Just to like go off of what he was saying
Yeah.
for like email, like not necessarily cold calling, but can't you do email follow-up and email content and value? And then
Yes.
that way you're also
Yes,
like,
but
getting
emails,
at customers like what's the word I'm looking for?
emails, I'll touch on it a bit because this does come up a lot. Emails are getting destroyed right now. And the reason that emails are getting destroyed is all the anti-spam laws that have come up, because people just don't want spam. They don't want to be sold through email. They don't want an inbox that's full of junk. So emails are changing very rapidly. Text messaging is taking over. Text message is going to be really big over the next couple of years, where you start having brands text you or WhatsApp you directly. They're going to message you directly. But with emails, what you need to do is rather than doing the old-fashioned, here's my flyer for the week.
No, you just do like value. And
You do
content
value.
instead of selling.
Correct. So you make a nice video and you say, take a look at our corporate culture. We're having fun. We want you to have fun as well, and we want you to be part of our story. And you put that video at the top. Then you do a couple blog posts in between that they can click and go to your blog, learn something else about your business, learn something else about your product. Then maybe at the bottom there's something about where your location is and your store hours and maybe an event that you have coming up as an inbound. But you just create that value through that email, however your product or service is able to create it. And don't send out flyers anymore. 50% off at the top of the email really does nothing unless that person's in the right timing again. And I don't feel that Touchpoint has as much impact if every single time that email comes into my inbox, I click delete. It just doesn't have the same impact as if it comes into my inbox. What's a good example? Dezeen. I follow Dezeen, an architectural email. Every time in those Dezeen emails, they have the newest buildings that are getting built, the newest trends, the newest colors, the newest chairs that are going in. They feature a couple different architects in the world. And every time I open it and I look at what the new buildings look like, I enjoy that. I get value from that. But if in every single email they sent me, they were telling me about an event, they were telling me where to fly, they were telling me what they're selling, I'm going to start deleting them.